In Korea, there's a dangerous competition known as the Squid game, in which desperate people are killed in different mini-games until only one person is left. Gi-hun has already won the game and received a big money prize, but he wants revenge for all the deaths the game has caused. He signs up again and convinces some of the players to rebel with him. Unfortunately, the plan fails and most of the rebels get killed. Player Kyung-sok begs for his life and guard No Oil shoots him in a non-lethal spot. Then she asks him to pretend to be dead and uses a scanner to eliminate him from the game. Some guards leave a coffin in the player's bedroom. The players open it and find an unconscious Gi-hun inside, so they take him to a bed. When Gi-hun wakes up, he realizes they've lost lots of people in their failed revolt. Then the guards come back and announce that 35 players have been eliminated, so the prize has grown to 36.9 billion won. Now it's time to vote on whether they'll continue to the next game. Gi-hun yells at them as he asks why they killed the others but not him, even grabbing a guard's gun and telling him to do it, but the guards hold him down without hurting him. After Gi-hun is handcuffed to the bed, the players proceed to vote. It's a very tense moment and lots of people are unsure of what to do, but in the end the team that wants to continue wins. In the meantime, the guards take the coffins with all the dead bodies to the incinerators, although some coffins including Kyung-sok's are dropped into an operating room for organ harvesting. The guards get Kyung-sok ready to cut him open, only for No Oil to suddenly knock down the guard next to her and grab her weapon. When a man reaches for his own gun, she immediately shoots him down. The rest of the guards use the opening to attack her, but No Oil quickly defends herself and kills them all in seconds. She only spares the doctor and tells him to save Kyung-sok or she'll kill him too. The doctor successfully takes care of Kyung-sok's wound but explains he needs a transfusion, so No Oil volunteers her blood because it's type O. When Kyung-sok wakes up, No Oil shoots the doctor anyway. Back in the bedroom, Seon-yu tells Gi-hun that he'll hear all his friends screaming every day until he dies. A furious Gi-hun grabs her by the neck and the other players have to pull her away to save her. When the guards bring food, some nice players try to share with Gi-hun, but he refuses to eat. In a corner, Nam-gyu reveals he's stolen the necklace with illegal uppers that a now dead player managed to sneak in. There are only 5 samples left and he takes one. The next day the players are taken to the next arena and on their way there, they see the bodies of the dead rebels hanging from the ceiling. For the next game, the players have to take a random red or blue ball from a dispensing machine to decide their team. The next game is announced as hide and seek. The blue team has 30 minutes to find the exit or stay hidden until time's up, while the red team must find the blues and kill them. If a red player doesn't kill at least one blue player, they're eliminated. Each blue player gets a key necklace, which will open doors to access new areas. Once a door is opened, it can't be locked. The red players are a knife to kill the blues, but they aren't allowed to attack each other. The guard offers them a chance to swap teams with someone on the opposing side. Lots of discussions happen and a few players agree to exchange, but most of them choose to stay in the teams they got. Dae-ho notices Gi-hun staring at him and gets nervous because he knows he betrayed the rebels. He grabs Gi-hun by his shirt and yells that the deaths aren't his fault, claiming that they wouldn't have won anyway. The guards then pull him away. Meanwhile, on a boat, Detective Jun-ho discovers that the drone pilot he hired to find the Squid Game island has disappeared. He wants to look for the body, but Captain Park convinces him it would be a waste of time. The body is currently washing up on some rocks after Park killed it because he secretly works for the Squid Game. The crew decides to go back to land and get a new drone pilot. Later in a hotel, Jun-ho is crossing off the islands they've already searched on a map. His partner Woo-sok comes to see him with some information. Last night he heard some noises and found Park on the deck with a screwdriver in his hand. However, Jun-ho trusts Park because he saved his life and thinks Woo-sok was imagining things because he had been drinking. In the morning, Jun-ho takes the new drone pilot to the boat. At that moment he gets a call from Woo-seok, who tells him he's not coming because he needs to look into something. When the game is about to begin, Yong-sik convinces his mother Jeom-ja to switch roles. She has a knife hidden in her hairpin, so she can hide until it's over. The pregnant woman Jun-hee approaches her ex Myung-gi and tells him to swear on his life. Myung-gi swears he'll find her and they switch teams too. The blue players enter the arena first and discover it's a maze. They have 2 minutes to hide before the red team comes after them. The team agrees to spread and look for the exit. Whoever finds it first must yell to alert the others. Jun-hee has trouble with the stairs because of her condition, so Jeom-ja and Yeon-ju help her. As soon as the red team enters the arena too, the 30-minute timer starts. Nam-gyu takes another upper and offers one to Myung-gi, but he refuses. The Reds immediately begin their search, although Gi-hun only wants to find Dae-ho. Seon-yu thinks she has spiritual powers and guides some players through the corridors by reading energies. Many doors are opened easily, but soon the players discover that the keys have different shapes, so they can only open doors with the same shape on their locks. Yeon-ju, Jun-hee, and Jeom-ja realize that they have a key for each shape and let Yeon-ju carry them all so they can move faster through the doors. Gi-hun finally finds Dae-ho and a chase ensues. Dae-ho chooses a random corridor and opens a door to escape, only to find an abyss of doors. Soon Gi-hun reaches the door and gets ready to kill the man, who turns around and reveals not to be Dae-ho. Gi-hun took the wrong corridor, so he lets the guy go. Then he looks through the door and notices Dae-ho standing across the abyss. Dae-ho closes the door and keeps running. Screams can be heard all over the place and a voice on the speakers announces every time a player gets eliminated. Nam-gyu and Myung-gi chase after 235 together until they corner him in a room. Since 235 is fighting back, they only manage to stab him in non-lethal places. The man keeps begging for his life because he has a family, so Myung-gi stops Nam-gyu from killing him. However, Myung-gi just wants to do the stabbing at the same time so they can both pass. Nam-gyu agrees and they kill the man together. Myung-gi takes the blue player's key before they leave. Afterward, Min-soo comes out of hiding and finds the necklace on the ground, so he takes one of the last two uppers. Yeon-ju's team keeps running because they're being chased by a red. When they take the stairs, Jun-hee slips and falls, twisting her ankle. Then the red player tries to attack them, so Yeon-ju immediately fights him and overpowers him to kill him with his own knife. Meanwhile, Jong-dae is working with another player to open doors and they enter a room with a red player. Jong-dae pushes his teammate forward and closes the door, leaving him to be stabbed to death. He waits until the red is gone and steals his guy's key. Nam-gyu and Myung-gi find another blue player and stab him together to take his key. Now Myung-gi wants to find Jun-hee and Nam-gyu mocks him for it, so Myung-gi threatens him with his knife. He only lets go because of the rules. Myung-gi runs when he hears a woman screaming, however it's a different blue player getting killed. Nam-gyu says they should keep killing blues to increase their chances of winning. Gi-hun continues to search for Dae-ho and ignores any other blue that passes by. Dae-ho is running from a different red that corners him on the stairs, stabbing his leg. When Dae-ho pushes him, the red player falls and dies. The fall also breaks the knife, but Dae-ho takes it anyway. Young-sik finds a blue hiding behind a door and starts fighting him to try to kill him. However, the struggle takes too long and Gi-min enters the room to steal the kill. Yeon-ju's team finds a room to hide in and notices that Jun-hee's ankle appears to be broken. To make matters worse, Jun-hee's water breaks. Her friends put a jacket in her mouth to cover the noise and help her give birth. Seon-yu leads her group to a door, which she opens and quickly closes again before running away. Then Nam-gyu and Myung-gi burst out of that door and kill the entire group. As Seon-yu runs, she bumps into Dae-ho and they fall, but they still go their separate ways. She crosses another door and finds Gi-hun, so she tells him where Dae-ho is to save herself. While Gi-hun goes looking for Dae-ho, Min-soo approaches Seon-yu to ask about his friend, but she ignores him and hides in a room. There she finds the exit door, but it requires one of each key. She leaves the room and finds a body, however it has the same key as hers. Seon-yu decides to draw an arrow on the wall with blood to indicate the exit. In a corridor, Jong-dae sees some red players coming, so he covers his face with blood and pretends to be dead. Nam-gyu takes a closer look, but Myung-gi makes him leave before he can notice anything. Then Seon-yu tries to take his keys, so he reveals he's alive and they agree to work together. In the meantime, Jun-hee's baby girl is born and Gi-ja uses her hairpin to cut the umbilical cord. The baby's crying gets the attention of a red player, so Yeon-ju grabs the stolen knife and starts to fight him, pushing him into another room. They exchange many blows, but in the end Yeon-ju is stronger, so she holds him tight while she stabs him to death. Another red player watches from the corridor and goes away in fear of Yeon-ju. When she turns around, she discovers she's found the exit door. She quickly opens it with the 3 keys and finds a safe room with a congratulations song. However, instead of leaving, she goes back to find her friends. She manages to tell them that she found the exit, but at that moment she's stabbed to death by Myung-gi. He sees his baby in the room, so when Nam-gyu asks him if he's found anyone else, Myung-gi says no and closes the door. Gi-ja cries for her friend while taking the keys and tells Jun-hee they need to leave before someone hears the baby. With only 3 minutes left, Gi-ja, Jun-hee, and the baby carefully move through the corridor and find the exit. While they're using the keys to open the door, Young-sik appears behind them. He still needs a victim and wants to kill Jun-hee, but Gi-ja volunteers because she's lived long enough. Young-sik refuses to kill his own mother and runs after Jun-hee, but he's stopped when Gi-ja stabs him in the back with her hairpin. Jong-dae and Seon-yu also find an exit door and combine their keys to open it. However, Jong-dae goes ahead alone and closes the door so Seon-yu can't follow him. Seon-yu starts yelling at him and is found by Min-soo, who keeps asking about his friend. When Seon-yu starts insulting him, Min-soo hallucinates that she's Nam-gyu and snaps, quickly stabbing her to death. The hallucination then changes to his friend, so Min-soo has a breakdown. At the stairs, Gi-hun follows a blood trail and finds Dae-ho hiding behind the door. When Gi-hun pushes him down, Dae-ho takes out the broken knife and slashes him a few times, making him drop the knife. They continue to fight and Dae-ho is disarmed, so he runs away while Gi-hun grabs the knife before going after him. When Dae-ho opens a random door, he finds the abyss again, so he has no choice but to fight Gi-hun. After lots of struggle, Gi-hun starts choking Dae-ho, who says the deaths were Gi-hun's fault before he dies too. At that moment the game ends. Gi-hun thinks that Dae-ho was right and tries to self-delete, but the guards disarm him with a shot and knock him out. Gi-ja is holding her dying son, but the guards ruin the moment by shooting Young-sik to death. Soon the guards are gathering the bodies in coffins. A red player without kills tries to defend himself, but he's shot down. These guards remove their masks, revealing foreigners who are killing for fun. When the players return to the bedroom, Namgyu panics because he can't find the necklace. He asks a guard to let him go back for it, but he's denied and threatened. The necklace is currently hidden in Minsu's hand. Gi-hun is handcuffed to a bed again. The guards announce the results. 110 players were killed, 25 are left, and the prize is 43.1 billion won. Now it's time to vote again. Gi-hun refuses to vote and Jeom-ja begs everyone to vote in favor of stopping the game to protect the baby, even offering them her own money. However, the players ignore her and most of the votes go to continuing the game, so she has a breakdown. Meanwhile, the foreign guards are having dinner with In-ho, also known as the front man because he's the one in charge of the game. It turns out those foreigners are actually VIPs, which means they're the rich people who are invited to the game to bet on the players. The guard at the door receives a call telling him that they've lost contact with the operating room and sends a man to check it out. In the operation room, No Oil has dressed Kyung-sok as a guard. As they take the stairs, he has trouble moving because of his injury, but No Oil tells him to deal with it if he wants to survive. By the time the guards enter the operation room, they only find the bodies. Upstairs, No Oil gives Kyung-sok a key with the number 16 and tells him to follow the other guards. Then she jumps up to a vent in the ceiling. Kyung-sok reaches room 16 right before the guard manager checks the cameras. He tells his men on the radio to find the missing guard, only for No Oil to appear behind him. She threatens him until he agrees to put her on patrol with guard 16 and get them a boat. That night, Jeom-ja tells Gi-hun how in the past, she had to save her son from an overdose, but she became his killer here. She believes in Gi-hun and wants him to protect the baby, but Gi-hun says he's not that kind of guy. On the boat, the pilot sends out the drone to continue the search. Woo-sok calls Jun-ho and tells him that he's asked all the local fishermen, but nobody knows anything about Park or even who he is, almost as if he doesn't exist. Park had also introduced them to the captain of boat 2, but Woo-sok couldn't find anything about him either. Jun-ho promises to keep an eye on Park before returning to the search. Minutes later, Park suggests they head back because the tide is coming in. Jun-ho says they should bring the drone back, but then he spots something. He recognizes the beach and tells Park to take them to it. When Jun-ho makes it to the island, he remembers the day he found his brother In-ho there and tells his team to sail in that direction. Meanwhile, Woo-sok arrives at Park's house and notices that the mailbox is overflowing. Then he jumps over the wall and finds a vicious dog, but thankfully it's chained up. Woo-sok breaks the glass on the door to get inside and starts to investigate. There's a picture of Park with the man who recruits players for the game. At that moment, the dog comes inside and bites him, so Woo-sok has to shoot it to death. On his way out, he notices something near the doghouse and moves it to uncover a hidden hole. It's filled with money and a guard uniform. He's interrupted by the police arriving to arrest him. The next morning, the guards bring a coffin to pick up Jeom-ja's body. It turns out she self-deleted during the night. Seeing this, Jun-hee has a breakdown. No Oil finds a boat key hidden in her breakfast. At the same time, the guard manager sends a man to search the operating room again. The guard double-checks the body on the table using a scanner and realizes it's not a player, it's the doctor wearing the player's clothes. This means guard 16 is the player. The players are told the next game is about to start and Jun-hee considers leaving the baby in bed, but she ends up taking her along. She's walking very slowly because of her broken ankle, so Gi-hun offers to carry the baby instead. In the VIP room, the foreigners ask In-ho to add the baby to the game. In the next arena, the players find two huge dolls connected by a rope and a narrow bridge. The game is jump rope and they have 20 minutes to complete it. Players must cross the bridge while jumping the swinging rope, and if they fall, they'll die in the abyss surrounding the bridge. Gi-hun tells Jun-hee to leave the baby there and pick her up when they're done, but the guard informs them that the baby is a player too and must also complete the game. Since her ankle is too swollen to win this, Jun-hee asks Gi-hun to take the baby with him. Minsu notices that Namgyu is going through withdrawal and shows him that he has the necklace, which he throws on the bridge. Namgyu starts moving and successfully jumps the rope until he gets the necklace. When he opens it, he finds it empty, and this distraction causes the rope to throw him off the bridge. Minsu watches the body bleed while hiding the last upper. Afterward, Gi-hun wraps the baby in his jacket, which he ties to his body before volunteering to go next. Gi-hun moves as fast as possible as he jumps the rope and finds a gap in the bridge, which he successfully jumps over as well. He almost falls, but he recovers his balance just in time. Then he keeps going and finally makes it to the other side. Gi-hun wants to go back to help Jun-hee, but there already are other players on the bridge. Player 96 makes it to the other side and pushes off the man behind him. He plans to push all the incoming people so only he and Gi-hun are left. While 96 pushes another man off, a few players on the bridge get pushed by the rope too. Jong-dae is next in line and tries to negotiate, which is keeping the others behind. They're starting to get tired and two men fall off to their deaths. 349 wants to go back and yells at the guy behind her, causing him to also fall. She then returns to the beginning, only for Gi-min to kick her off. Getting nervous, Minsu takes the last upper. Gi-hun threatens to kill 96 to make him clear the bridge, so now Jong-dae and Sung-won make it to the end. With only 7 minutes left, the rope is starting to go faster. Myung-gi offers to help Joon-hee, but she refuses and asks him why he killed Yeon-ju when she was helping her. He explains he hadn't known Yeon-ju was an ally and he only wanted to protect Joon-hee like he promised. When Myung-gi says he wants to start a new life together as a family, Joon-hee responds that the baby is hers and she wants her daughter to have nothing to do with a trash person like him. Myung-gi decides to leave her behind. Suddenly 96 tackles Gi-hun to the ground and they start fighting, which blocks the bridge and causes more players to fall. 96 almost chokes Gi-hun, who inserts his thumb into 96's eye and sends him to the bridge. The rope immediately throws 96 to his death. While a few more players reach the end, Min-soo gets stuck next to the gap because he's starting to hallucinate. Thankfully seeing Gi-hun calling him over helps him reach the end. A man slips at the gap and falls. He manages to hold on but instead of helping, Myung-gi jumps over him to make it to the end. The player falls while Gi-hun sees that there's only 1 minute left and the only remaining player is Joon-hee. He wants to help her, but Joon-hee tells him to stay and take care of her baby. Then she self-deletes, ending the game. While the players return to the bedroom, the VIPs discuss what to do with the baby. In-ho proposes that the baby should play with Joon-hee's number, and the group agrees. The guards then tell the players that there are 9 players left and when everyone protests about the number, they explain the baby is the 9th player and also gets part of the money. The angry players try to make Gi-hun give up the baby, but the guards fire a warning shot and say that physical violence between players is no longer allowed. Lastly, everyone gets a gift for reaching the finals. Meanwhile all the guards are scanned before they're sent out on patrol. When Kyung-sok and No Oil go through, the manager sends men after them. The duo leaves the facility and starts searching for the boat. At the police station, Woo-sok is being interrogated. He tries to tell the cops about the Squid Game and presents the guard uniform as proof, but they don't believe him. Park only has a gambling fine on the system, while Woo-sok has a long criminal history. On the boat, Joon-ho points at the islands surrounding the one where he met his brother and says they should search them next. However, Park sends him in a different direction, claiming that the area is protected by the currents and the Coast Guard. At that moment the cops call Park to inform him of the incident. They tell him about Woo-sok, his story, and the uniform in the garden. Park claims he doesn't know Woo-sok, who is yelling at another cop to get back his phone. Joon-ho notices Park is outside and asks him who called him at this late hour, so Park tells him it was a friend. Woo-sok takes his phone from the officer's hands and runs around the station while calling Joon-ho to tell him that Park is part of the game before the cops catch him. At the same time Park calls the second boat and tells his partner to kill everyone because they've been compromised. Then he grabs his own gun and starts shooting down the search team. Hearing the shots, Joon-ho gets the harpoon gun and surprises Park from behind, quickly shooting him down. Joon-ho tries to ask for information, but Park refuses to talk and dies. While trying to keep the last team member alive, Joon-ho looks at the map and realizes Park sent him away from certain island for a reason. Moments later, the players have put on the fancy suits from the gift boxes and are taken to a dining room, where the big pig with the money has been put down. Unlike the small dry meals they got in their rooms, now they get to eat and drink as much as they want. A guard even feeds the baby with a bottle. Then a guard announces they have to do the usual voting, but first he drops a hint about the final game. Supposedly players will get to choose who gets eliminated. If they can agree on 3 players to kill, the rest will survive. The minimum is 3 but they can kill off even more if they want. Getting excited about the idea, everyone except for Gi-hun and Min-soo votes to keep playing. Soon In-ho receives a call warning him that Park is dead. Kyung-sok and No Oil are escaping on the boat when they get a call from the guard manager, who threatens to kill Kyung-sok's daughter in the hospital if they don't come back. No Oil has no choice but to turn the boat around, however she returns to the facility alone and lets Kyung-sok leave with the boat. She then climbs up the cliff and reaches a vent, so she shoots the fan to stop it before going inside. Back to the players, Jong-dae convinces the other 5 players to make a pact. They'll vote to eliminate Gi-hun, Min-soo, and the baby, that way they get 7.6 billion each. Later while everyone else is asleep, Gi-hun is taken to the private floor to meet In-ho, who claims he wants to help the baby. Gi-hun doesn't believe him, so In-ho gives him a knife and tells him to kill anyone who tries to hurt him or the child. Since Gi-hun is still confused, In-ho takes off his mask. Gi-hun is furious to recognize a player from the game who killed a friend of his and grabs the knife, but In-ho points out that if he's killed now, someone less nice will take his place and the baby won't survive. In-ho advises Gi-hun to kill all the others while they sleep so he and the baby can win. When Gi-hun makes his way out, In-ho asks him if he still has faith in people, but Gi-hun doesn't answer. Seconds later, In-ho watches Gi-hun approach the sleeping players with the knife and thinks back to the time he played the game, because he was given the same offer. Back then In-ho had killed all his opponents, however now Gi-hun can't bring himself to do the same. Instead he imagines a dead friend being there with him reminding him that he's a good person. Meanwhile Joon-ho gets a call from In-ho, who asks him to stop the search or he'll have to kill him. Joon-ho ignores him and keeps driving the boat. In the vents, No Oil crawls all the way to one of the private rooms and hides behind the furniture. When the guard manager comes out of the bathroom, she threatens to kill him if he doesn't delete Kyung-sok's record. The man does so, but before she can shoot him, he reveals there are copies in the main office, to which only he and the leader have access. No Oil makes him get in the elevator to go to that office, but when the doors close he attacks her. After exchanging a few blows, they get off the elevator and continue the fight in the corridor to eventually reach a room. The man takes out a knife but No Oil defends herself and he ends up bringing her down with a bottle to the head instead. Then he stabs her in the side. At that moment he gets a call telling him that the game is about to begin, so he tells his men to start without him. While he turns on the TV to watch the game, No Oil tries to crawl away. Since the guy keeps mocking her, it gives her time to reach the elevator and retrieve her gun, which she uses to kill him. The players are taken to the next arena for the final game. There are 3 very high pillars with an elevator that takes them to the top. This is called Squid Game and it'll have 3 rounds. On each pillar they'll have to choose someone to kill and push him together as a group. If they don't do it within the time limit, all players will be eliminated. The group starts walking toward Gi-hun and the baby, but Min-soo is distracted by the hallucination of a dead player hanging on the edge of the pillar. The man promises to give him more uppers, but when Min-soo tries to reach him, the hallucination changes into Nam-gyu trying to grab Min-soo's leg. Soon both hallucinations appear together and Min-soo kicks them until they disappear. Then a voice announces that the players must press a button to officially start the round. When they do so, a clock begins counting down 15 minutes. Most of the players want to kill the baby first, but Myung-gi thinks they should kill Gi-hun because he won't let the baby go and they'll fall together. Instead Myung-gi thinks they should kill Min-soo first, since his withdrawal is making him a risk. The men vote and agree Min-soo should go first, but nobody dares to push him. Time is about to run out, so Myung-gi grabs the pillar's pole and uses it to push Min-soo, who thinks he sees his dead crush before falling to his death. In the meantime, there are guards on a boat looking for Kyung-sok. They open fire as soon as they see him and damage his engine. Kyung-sok shoots back but only kills one guard before running out of bullets. The remaining guards approach Kyung-sok but when they're about to kill him, someone shoots them down first. It turns out to be Jun-ho and his partner. Kyung-sok explains he's just a victim dressed as a guard and tells them how to find the right island. In the office, No Oil searches the rooms and finds the masks of the previous game masters. She breaks a locked door and finds some creepy stairs that take her to another lock. After shooting it, she finds all the hard copies in the archives and starts looking for Kyung-sok's file. Once she's found it, she pours alcohol all over the room and sets it on fire. When she's about to leave, she sees some binders named lists. She takes a look and finds her own file with a picture of her family, only to learn they were killed in North Korea. This causes her to have a breakdown. Back to the game, a bridge appears so the players can go to the next pillar. When Jeong-dae is about to press the button, Myung-gi stops him and says they need to separate Gi-hun and the baby first to avoid wasting time. The group agrees the baby should be killed next and they corner Gi-hun against the edge, so he threatens to jump with the baby. If both of them die, in the next round they'll have to vote for someone from their alliance. Gi-min says he doesn't care and presses the button while telling 353 to kill both Gi-hun and the baby. However 353 doesn't dare because he's afraid he'll be the next target. An argument ensues so Myung-gi proposes to play rock paper scissors. Sung-won loses so he'll have to get the baby. The men tie all their jackets together and around Sung-won's waist, that way they can pull him if needed. They tell Gi-hun they've decided to draw lots to decide the next deaths and Gi-hun agrees it's a fair plan, but he refuses to move because he can tell it's a trap. Then Sung-won lunges forward and grabs Gi-hun, who takes out his knife. The others start pulling at the jackets to bring them in, but Gi-hun cuts a sleeve and everyone falls back. Seeing the knife, Sung-won backs off and begs for his life. Suddenly Myung-gi tells Gi-hun to move and uses the pole to push Sung-won off the pillar. Myung-gi tells Gi-hun that he wants to save the baby too because she's his daughter. The other players start beating 39 up and even break his legs so they can have an easy victim for the next round. Gi-hun makes them back off by threatening them with his knife, saying they'll draw lots to make it fair and keep the baby out of it. Gi-min jumps on Gi-hun and tries to steal the knife while Myung-gi has to fight 353 for the pole. When Gi-min manages to steal the knife, Gi-hun doesn't give up and keeps on fighting until he gets the weapon back and stabs Gi-min to kill him. Myung-gi struggles against 353's grasp until he manages to kick him off the pillar. A desperate Jeong-dae tries to negotiate for his life, but Myung-gi pushes him off too. The round ends but 309 is still crawling toward the edge, saying he doesn't want to be the next victim. Myung-gi tries to make him see reason however 309 still jumps. Now only Myung-gi, Gi-hun, and the baby are left for the last round. The bridge appears and Myung-gi crosses to the next pillar. However he then grabs the pole and blocks the bridge, asking Gi-hun to give him the baby. Gi-hun points out that if he does that, Myung-gi will have to choose between himself and the baby for the final round, and Myung-gi says he knows. The game voice announces that Gi-hun has 5 minutes to reach the next pillar, so he walks forward and Myung-gi does the same, which means they'll all lose if they don't move. In the boat, Jun-ho leaves Kyung-sok with his partner and tells them to wait for the Coast Guard, whom he's already called and told everything. Meanwhile, he'll use diving equipment to reach the island. At the same time, In-ho is told by security that there's a boat on the radar. After lots of pointless arguing, Gi-hun puts the baby down on the bridge and steps back. With only a few seconds left, Myung-gi uses the pole to pick up the baby and bring her to his pillar. While Myung-gi is distracted, Gi-hun retrieves his knife and makes a big jump as the bridge disappears, landing on the other pillar at the last second. While the button appears on the pillar, the men start fighting and the pole falls off. A desperate Myung-gi grabs the baby and threatens to throw her off the edge, so Gi-hun drops the knife. Myung-gi then takes the weapon and restarts the fight, slashing Gi-hun's body with the blade. He also tries stabbing his arm, which Gi-hun has protected with his jacket. In the struggle, they end up rolling off the edge, and Gi-hun manages to hold on to a metal bar while Myung-gi is holding on to his jacket. Unfortunately, the fabric rips and Myung-gi ends up falling to his death. Then Gi-hun returns to the pillar, only to realize that the button to start the round was never pressed. That means someone must die to finish the game. No Oil is considering self-deleting because she doesn't have a family anymore, but she freezes when she hears the baby crying in the game. Gi-hun presses the button and kisses the baby's forehead as a final goodbye. Then he falls on purpose to self-delete, so the baby wins the game. This selfish act gives No Oil hope to keep on living. When the Coast Guard finds the boat, all this is recorded by the game's drone. Jun-ho finds an underwater tunnel and enters the facility. At that moment, a guard warns In-ho that the Coast Guard is coming, so an alarm is activated to begin an evacuation. In-ho presses a button to start a 30-minute timer for self-destruction. As Jun-ho makes his way inside on a ladder, he notices the bombs on the walls. Eventually he reaches the main office and watches on the big screen how his brother appears on top of the pillar to grab the baby. Jun-ho shoots the screen and reveals a door behind, which gives him access to the now empty VIP room. He breaks the window and gets ready to shoot In-ho, but he can't do it because of the child. This allows In-ho to escape. Cars and helicopters are leaving the island, and No Oil manages to escape with them by pretending to be just another guard. Jun-ho leaves the island through the same tunnel and reaches the sea right before the facility explodes. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure enters a motel to gather Gi-hun's things, including all his money. 6 months later, No Oil goes to the park where Kyung-sok works and asks him for a portrait. He can't help thinking she looks familiar, so she explains she used to work there too. His daughter is there with him because she's recovered, thanks to everyone's help with the treatment. Afterward, No Oil leaves in her car and receives a call from the private investigator she hired to find her family. He claims her daughter was seen in China, but it hasn't been confirmed. No Oil decides to fly to China anyway. In the meantime, Jun-ho bails Woo-sok out of prison and reveals he's quit the force. Woo-sok wants to work together and start a new business using Gi-hun's money, but Jun-ho is already checked and it's all gone. Later, when Jun-ho arrives home, he's shocked to find the baby still wearing her mother's game jacket. In a black envelope there's a card saying the girl won and a credit card with his name to access the prize. Jun-ho goes to the ATM to activate the card and chooses Jun-hee as his password. The screen confirms that all the money is there. Meanwhile, Woo-sok and his friend go to Gi-hun's abandoned motel and announce they'll manage it from now on. In Los Angeles, In-ho visits Gi-hun's daughter and gives her a box, saying her father sent it to her before he died. The girl is shocked to hear the news and opens the box to find Gi-hun's game jacket and an envelope with a credit card with her name. On the street, In-ho stops his car when he sees the new game recruiter playing a game with a man. She nods at him before going back